there, it's Laura Coleman here from Be Modern Meditation, and I'm joining you from my back garden today, ready for some meditation. And I need to tag a couple of people who asked me to tag them today, so I will do that now, and hopefully that will let them know. It's all very technical. I think I'll leave it at that, and hopefully people will come and join us. Now I'm in the back garden today because my son and my husband have gone for a little wander in the garden. So as you can see, I can still see a lovely outlook over in the corner. I can also see lots of builders building work there, where we're halfway through building work that obviously is going to be on hold now, so no kitchen for a while for me. And what I wanted to share tonight before we start meditating is that yesterday I mentioned that I had 24 hours of really struggling and just feeling a bit meh, and that persisted into today, that sense of not being able to quite focus, really struggling, feeling quite paralysed actually in terms of getting on with life. And I was feeling quite agitated with that, a little bit anxious, and I guess probably not surprisingly given that everything that we're all dealing with right now. And hi Pippa. And the reason I wanted to share that that's what happened for me was firstly because actually that's the truth. That's the authentic truth of my experience in the last 2 days, is that I felt unsettled and just not great. And you know, as they say, it's okay to not be okay. But the reason I also want to share it is because I think one of the myths about meditation is that, you know, somehow, if I'm going to meditate regularly, somehow I'm going to become this automatum. You know, I'm not going to feel things anymore, and it's this magic bullet that's going to magically transform my life. And it does transform my life, but it does that not by stopping me from experiencing those things, but actually by making me even more aware. So the two things I would say that the ways that my meditation practice has helped me in this last couple of days of funk, is the first thing is that noticing, you know, being able to actually be aware of what's going on in my body and in my mind, to be able to witness that and think, I'm having these thoughts, I'm feeling this way, rather than just being, which I would have been in the past, I would have just been caught up with them. I would have been dragged off into overthinking. I would have tried to do things to take my mind off it. And I've still done some of those things, like time on the phone scrolling, or avoiding doing the things that were making me feel stressed out. But that awareness is so key, because firstly it allowed me to do something different about it. So today I was one of those that joined Joe Wicks this morning for the PE lesson at 9 a.m. My kids wouldn't join me, but I did the Joe Wicks PE lesson, and it was really good because I knew by tuning in, meditation had allowed me to see that I needed to move my body. Having been poorly last week, it was time I needed to move, shake it all out, and that was really good. And then I knew I needed to meditate in a slightly different way, and just to really simplify things, strip it right back. And that's what has inspired the practice that we'll do tonight, is that we'll really just keep it really simple. So that was the first reason, is that I can notice that I'm off kilter and that I'm not feeling in balance. And the second thing is that it allows me to be compassionate with myself about that, because in the past, when I felt that way, I would have been really critical of myself. I'd have been like, people have got it much worse than you need to pull yourself together, what's wrong with you? And because for me, when I'm a bit off balance, what tends to go is my ability to organise and get things done. So the laundry, somehow it seems beyond me, or just those, returning a call to somebody or sending an email just feels like I just can't do it. It's like there's this short circuit, and because of that, of course, I would then be, you're so useless, and that kind of inner critic voice would be really, really strong. Whereas because I can notice, hey, I'm having these thoughts and feelings, somehow that allows me to then feel like that's really tough for me that I feel that way, and it's not about judging myself for that experience. Oh God, can you hear the wind? It's about actually allowing, oh my God, it's so windy. It's just allowing, that is my experience right now, and that's just so freeing, because there's so much effort I've put into the past in trying to control how I feel. So that's a long-winded way of saying I'm feeling much better now, because that noticing and that being kind to myself has meant that I've done the things that I need to do to bring myself back to balance. And I'm sure I will need to continue to do that, because, as I'm sure we all will, that things have changed so much this last week that we're all having to adjust to this new normal, and all of our autopilot stuff has just gone out the window. So if that's you, I just invite you to be kind to yourself and to notice. And so tonight's practice is going to be a really simple practice where we're just going to, using the body as our usual start place, to land in this moment right now. And then we're going to use the breath in a really effortless way. There's so many ways that you can use the breath in meditation. And for me, my most favourite way of doing it is this way, because it's not about controlling or trying to create some experience, which is really in line with my beliefs about what meditation is for and how it works. So if you're joining us for the first time and you've never meditated before, don't worry. There's no outcome that you're looking for. There's no specific way it needs to feel. And your mind almost certainly is not going to be quiet. At some point, perhaps straight away, perhaps all the way through, you're going to have thoughts. It's the nature of the mind. And actually all we're trying to do in our meditation is notice. So notice when those things happen and come back to our focus, which tonight will be the breath. And every time you do that, that is the practice. That is you training your mind to choose where you're placing your attention, and you're almost creating that pattern of, I've been distracted and I can come back. And that's what is useful in our day-to-day lives. So in terms of our posture, and I give this instruction every night because who knows who's watching, who's not been here before, we're going for the happy place between super relaxed, where we're almost falling asleep, and rigid. We want to be active but relaxed. So finding a way to support your posture so your lower back is supported ideally. If it's comfortable for you to not be supported, that's fine too. And the main thing I usually suggest is not to have your head resting back, because particularly if you are under stress and pressure, having your head resting back, you're going to have experience tiredness in your body potentially when things are this stressful. And when you do, if your head's resting back, you'll actually fall asleep. Whereas when your head is not resting back, even if you become a bit nodding dog, you are still awake, even if you're in a state of falling asleep. And it's just a slight difference in terms of where your consciousness is and how that brain training works. And otherwise, that's as technical as it gets. And I'll guide you through, and when it's time to open our eyes, I'll guide you back. So gently closing down the eyes, wherever you are, allowing a last fidget if you need one. Letting yourself settle into the space you're in. And then opening up, I'm going to move my phone here, opening up to the sounds that you can hear around you right now. Perhaps there's sounds in the room or the location you're in. Maybe you're outside and you can hear the sounds. Perhaps you can hear the sounds where I am tonight. Just becoming aware of the sound coming to you. This is your invitation to stop just for a moment and turn inwards. Settling into just being, instead of the frantic doing and distraction. We're going to take our awareness now and gently place it on the very tips of the fingers. So without moving the fingers, just let your full focus rest there. Perhaps you can feel a gentle tingling or vibration in the fingers. A gentle humming or vibration. If you don't feel anything, that's okay too. That's just your nervous system responding to your attention. Your fingers preparing for movement. That that subtle activation that happens before we take action. And notice that any time the mind wanders, you lose that connection to that sensation. So it allows you to become really aware of where your attention is, and also where it's not. And even as you're aware of your fingers, there might still be other things in your awareness, and that's okay too. And as soon as you notice that something has taken over, taken you away from the fingertips and that sensation, just coming back. No effort, no judgment, no control. And then see if you can add your toes to your awareness. So now your fingers and your toes are the center of your awareness. Just noticing what that feels like. Maybe it's stronger in one side or the other. Maybe your fingers feel it more. Or perhaps there's no sensation for you, and just notice that. And then allow your awareness to travel up the ankles, the shins and the calves, all the way up to the knees. And from the knees, travelling up the thighs and into the hips. Noticing the pressure of the legs on the chair. Perhaps even becoming aware of your clothes against your skin. And allowing that awareness to travel up the wrists and the forearms now, to the crook of the arm and the elbow. And then travelling all the way up the arms to the shoulders, across the chest, down into the belly. Your whole body in your awareness right now, in this moment. The body is only ever in this moment. Perhaps noticing a gentle opening in the body, a deeper feeling of relaxation just beginning to emerge. Your body switching from that habitual stress response into that other mode, that relaxation response. So even if there's still thinking and busyness in the mind that distracts you, that you have to keep coming back, just knowing that you are slowly switching tracks, slowing down, allowing the snow to settle in the snow globe. Noticing the back of the head, the forehead, the tongue in the mouth. And giving yourself permission to be here right now. I'm exactly where I planned to be. There is nowhere else to be. There's nothing else to do. This is it. This moment is all that's real. And we'll take our awareness to the breath now, and that rising and falling of the breath. So just noticing, where do you feel the breath today? Be curious. Is it where the cool air enters the nostrils or the mouth? Is it that rise and fall of the chest? Or maybe it's the belly. So wherever your attention lands on the breath, just stay there. And as before, there might be other things that you notice, or distractions that come in. And just come back each time to wherever the breath is most prominent for you. And become aware that the body's breathing for you. You don't have to make it happen. Even if, as we give it attention, it can sometimes become momentarily difficult, almost as if we get in our own way. So if you can let go and allow the breath to come and go, body's breathing, you are just watching. The doing of the breath is not attached to the being. And to help us to anchor in the breath, this place that's always here, we're going to use a simple tool of labeling. So when we breathe in, we'll label it rising. When we breathe out, falling. Rising, falling. Rising, falling. Coming back any time that we're distracted. Rising, falling. This anchor point of the breath, it's always here. You can use this any time in any moment, especially right now. And we'll drop into silence for a moment or two, just continuing to label gently and softly that rising and falling as we settle into that stillness that's waiting for us. And if there's still lots of noise or distraction, just know that every time you notice and you come back, that is the practice. Rising, falling. Allowing the breath to begin to deepen again now. Not trying to make it happen, but just noticing that as you bring yourself back, the breath naturally becomes deeper. And then taking 3 bigger than usual breaths. letting the breath return to its normal rhythm. Slowly beginning to move the fingers and the toes. And then gently blinking open the eyes and noticing that we're all still here. And just take a moment to just sit with how it feels right now. Can you still feel your whole body in your awareness, as well as the whole room and the connection that we have between us as we've sat together? And I hope wherever you are tonight that you have a peaceful evening and that you sleep well. And I'll see you tomorrow evening at 5:15. Night everybody.